Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Energy Intersects. And this is where me and Miss Lauren Armstrong jam out on human design, psychology, consciousness, and all sorts of fun things. So I wonder what we'll talk about today. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Just wait a second for Miss Lauren to join me. How's everybody doing? How's your day? We're about to jam out on human design, psychology. What will we talk about? Let's find out. Hope you all are having a good Tuesday. Hello.
Hello.
How you be? It's Tuesday this time instead of Thursday. We're mixing it up.
What a change in the field, you know?
I know. We're just flowing. We're just going with the energy. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. So I think we were looking at things that were popping for us, just kind of collective themes. And for me, I was starting to get this idea of like simplicity, really just needing simplicity in my life and my business, and, you know, kind of talking to you about that. I'm like, what is that? Because I was just noticing how it's so easy to be like looking at what is that person doing? What are they doing? And how are they doing it? And how are they having that success and yada yada. It's like, oh, I need to implement all these systems. I do this and do that. Blah, blah. And then I just go into like not feel good mode, not expansive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then we were messaging about this. And I was like, okay, well, that's super fascinating because that's kind of like a collective theme right now. This energy of simplicity. And what's cool about that is in human design, we have these things called the transits, which is like what's activated for everyone today, the collective, essentially. Like what traits are popping? Like what are you going to feel in your field, right? Like what energy is in your field that might not normally be in your field? And so for a while now, we've had gate 12, which, or not, I'm sorry, this week we have gate 12, but for a while now we've had gate 23, which is really around this energy of simplicity. So not only are you feeling it, I'm feeling it as well. Like, I'm like, how do I simplify my business? There are 3 ways to work with me, right? It's like, how do I narrow down like all of these things into like, oh, I have all these, but just like simple. So even for those of us who don't have gate 23 activated all the time in our human design charts, we're going to all be collectively feeling that desire to simplify because that is the strength of that gate. And so if you're like playing with gates or if you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Human design, it's a gate. It's also a gene key. So gene key is like a sister system to human design, and there's a lot more language around it. So there's like a shadow frequency to each gate and then a strength. So the shadow frequency, like the lowest expression, is complexity.
Of course it is.
Of course.
Making things harder than necessary, maybe? I don't know.
Right. Which it's so funny, like I don't, there's so all of the right gates mean something, channels mean something, the strengths, the centers, but I've noticed a pattern just be, you know, because if you're really aware of like, oh, I'm really feeling this way right now, or this is what the energy is popping, like whenever my heart center is defined, because it normally isn't, but in the transits it can be, I always start my 90-day planner. Like I start a new 90-day planner when the heart center is activated for me, which is all about commitment and willpower and like do it, like completing what you start. And I'm like, of course, like you would literally look at the dates of when I fill this thing out. It's only when my heart's defined.
That's
like,
amazing.
Oh,
okay, can you break this down for me and the folks? Because so gate 23, does that mean so everyone has this gate, first of all? Like
so a human design body graph, like if you pull it up, you're gonna look at it and you're gonna see a whole bunch of numbers and lines and all of the things. So all of the little numbers that come off the shapes are called gates or traits. And when they're activated always in your chart, they're either going to be black or red. And when they're not always activated, it's just going to be white. So you don't have that consistently all the time, right? It's not about like not having it. It's around consistency or inconsistency. So if it's activated for you, it'll be black or red, black meaning conscious, red meaning unconscious. And if it's white, it means that it's inconsistent for you. It'll be activated by someone you're hanging out with or by the transits or what's going on in the collective, right? So you're going to pick up on that energy when you wouldn't have access to it all the time. So this gate has been around for a while, and it's going to continue to be around for a while because it's activated in a slow moving planet. So we're all feeling this energy of simplify, simplify, simplify.
Wow, I was just really getting like, you know, because I'm on like spiritual talk and I follow, you know, like a lot of folks that are talking about the June energies and blah, blah, blah. And too, many of them have talked about this idea of almost like things that were muddy gain clearer and simplification. And so I was just like, wow, are they also, because then you're talking about it too in human design. And I'm like, wow, are they like tapping into this information, right? Without even realizing it. And same for me as well, since it's like, I didn't have awareness specifically that this is what's active right now.
Right. And I think that's so powerful. And I love how you talk about how we're like energy receivers, right? It's like, you don't have to know that that's what you're receiving to know from the body what you're receiving, right? And so that's what I love about human design and energy work is like, it just gives you a language to be like, oh, okay, that resonates with me. That makes sense. How can I lean even further into that? How can I simplify even more while this is activated, while this is in transit? For example, we're in a full moon today, right?
Oh,
we're
yeah.
Full moon. Yeah.
Anyone feeling that? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
It's in gate 11. Our full moon is in gate 11. So it's so funny that you just said like things are becoming clearer, because for gate 11, the shadow side of that is obscurity. And the strength is this like a beautiful idealism. It's how do things become clear from obscure to clarity? Like, it's also associated to the left eye and vision, and there's just like so much, and it's so juicy, and it's so fun to like be like, this is what I'm feeling. Oh, here is an external source that actually validates what I'm feeling, but we don't need the validation.
Yeah, oh my God, I love that. Just to like experience it in real time too, because I've definitely been in the place of like, I don't know where things are going, like this, why, whatever. It's like, well, and then going into like a story about it. Well, it's because I'm focused on the house. Like I got buying a new house, closing on a house, we're really excited about it. A lot of my energy and attention is going there. And so then I was like, well, maybe, you know, then it's like, well, maybe it's because I'm not putting my, right. It's just like versus what is actually happening here. What are the energies that I'm tuning into that I'm naturally actually flowing with? And again, if I didn't make myself wrong for what I was experiencing and be an allowance of the muddy period, like see it as a, you know, possibility for rest and chill and relaxation rather than needing to force through it. What would that create?
What would that create? How does it get better than that?
Just ask a question, okay?
Yeah. And so, I think what's interesting too, what you just said, right, is like you can create a story out of anything and you can use it as a reason for and like go in that direction, but you also have the possibility to choose the opposite or the other, which is, what does this create for me? How can I leverage this? Like leverage is one of my favorite words. Like how can you actually leverage the energy in your field to create better?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like using consciousness. Using your consciousness to your advantage. Like what are you aware of with that energy to like kind of go with the flow rather than forcing up, like I'm like walking uphill like against the wind or whatever. Like it's much easier to flow downhill and like the wind pushing behind you. Like, and that's kind of what I was getting when you're talking about leverage, like being able to just like lean into it rather than resist it, which is like the epitome of like physical and mental health, is like letting go of resistance.
Just without judgment.
I mean, that I've been talking about constantly, because I'm like, people really need to get like judgment, right, wrong, good or bad, activates your nervous system every single time. And it's like, if we're, you know, going against like this muddy period and making ourselves wrong for it or shaming ourselves and judging ourselves against other people, it's kind of like you're just going to be activating your nervous system and freezing yourself more, which is not going to facilitate moving forward, because it kills creation every time.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I'm wondering, because of what's activated in the sun right now. So when I'm saying activated, right? Transits, they move, they're in different gates. They'll all feel the collective energy. And so yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, the sun moved into gate 12, which is a throat gate. It's off the throat. And the shadow expression is vanity. So it's like, it's for me, right? Like, what about me? Like, I gotta show up in the way that puts me in the best light, which is, I feel like really ties into this good, bad, Like, I gotta
Oh,
be the good one.
100%. And I'm seeing that, like, it's so funny to see this in real time on social media. Like, like all of a sudden I'm kind of seeing like everyone kind of like, not everyone, but you know what I mean? Like a lot of people choosing that, like, let me show all the shiny parts of me and my business and whatever the heck that is going on. And then simultaneously, and I'm curious how you see this, is there's also been like an uptake in also in the, like the witch hunt, because there's just been an uptake in, you know, the people that have very strong points of view and that don't agree with maybe whatever you're choosing. And not only have I been at effect of it,
You've been
or like
victim
exposed to it,
of.
but just like I've just also heard other people talk about it and talk about just like how it's kind of interesting. So I'm curious what is going on there, if there's like any sort of kind of explanation to that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Well, I will say for gate 12, what's super fascinating is like the low expression, the shadow frequency is that vanity, but the highest expression, so it goes shadow, then strength, and then city. When we're looking at the gene keys, and city is like this, you've reached this enlightenment place, and
Yeah.
the enlightenment piece is purity. So like, what's pure of heart? Like, what are you going to share and say? Because it's a throat gate. Like, what are you going to talk about that's actually pure and yours? Which I think ties into this, like, not being the copy or the looking at what other people are doing. It's like being pure. And that really ruffles some people's stuff, like their feathers and skin, because it's like, I almost see it as their shadow frequency is activated of, I'm not allowed to have that. I haven't allowed myself to do it that way. I haven't allowed myself to be that way. Therefore you have, and it's wrong. And I also feel like this whole like witch hunt thing, who of us would be able to have someone film our lives for 4 years and no one would find anything wrong or to judge or to comment on? Like,
100%.
Glass house.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, because I was just talking to, or I did a speak, or a speak. I did speak.
I do speak.
I chatted with someone's membership and I was talking to them about, you know, judgment. And I was saying, you know, when folks are projecting judgment at you, like that's A, their attempts to control you, and B, because they are internally disrupted, uncomfortable of what they're seeing in you because it's something they are refusing to choose. Yeah. And so it's easier to say, no, you are wrong. How dare you? You are taking from others, or you are whatever. You're wrong, wrong, wrong. And it's just like, holy cow, the lack of awareness and disempowerment is really just like the healing that's required right now. Like when I see this kind of mental health spectrum, how, you know, we've been exposed to a lot of trauma, haven't done a ton of healing work. We're in this kind of more disempowerment victim stage and mindset until we go through this journey and start to become more conscious. Then we are, you know, kind of taking back our power in the sense of like, oh, I have choice here. Now I can choose to create my reality. And then how much do you want to play with that?
Yeah. And there's this concept in human design, I'm going to like, that really ties into this, which is have we talked about this yet? 2027. Have we talked about this on our?
It's not paying.
Okay.
So clearly it needs to be said again.
Okay. So there are these like underlying frequencies, like that are global frequencies that are activated. And so for the past 400 years, we've been in this underlying frequency of tribal agreements. And it's like through the cross of planning, which is it's about like what's best for the group. I'm going to say, like, we're going to make a handshake agreement. Like, you're going to hold your end of the bargain. I'm going to hold mine. It's a lot like the energy I get behind it is almost like I will sacrifice for the good of the collective.
Yeah. It's not like codependent at all. It's fine.
Right. And it's also where systems have been created over the past 400 years, right? The financial system, we buy in to Social Security or whatever, we get it out. Right. We buy into the educational system, all the children get educated, you know, we get something out of it. But the background frequency is actually shifting to a new cycle. And it's the cycle of the sleeping phoenix is essentially the next cycle that we're entering into. And this is all around individual empowerment. It's what's best for me is best for all. So I don't need to sacrifice and give up for the good of the family, for the good of the group, for the good of community, for the good of the whole. I get to do what's best for me. And I know that that is then best for all. So we're in, oh my gosh, I know, right?
That's so good.
That transformation is complete in the year of 2027. So right now, we're in the in-between of the falling away of these tribal agreements of the sacrifice, like sacrificing of yourself for this like thing that you've been told is good for everyone.
Totally.
And the choice and the individual empowerment of, actually, when I choose me, it's best for all. Yeah. And so the systems are collapsing. We're watching them all collapse, right? But there's still this kind of like cognitive dissonance going on of, but it's always been this way. And if you're choosing you, you're selfish.
Oh,
but that's,
yeah. Oh my God.
Okay,
so
go.
good. There's so much
to respond to. Okay, share.
Well, I'll start backwards, but like the first was when you said about selfish. I just love the way Abraham Hicks puts it, because that is like clarified it the most for me. And they say, well, when someone says you're being selfish, they're saying you need to please me over pleasing yourself. And I was just like, boom. Yes, exactly. And I'm really getting that, you know, it's kind of like, woof, in the next couple of years, it could be quite potent in the sense that like people are going to feel the push who are still in the kind of almost resistance to the new paradigm of what's best for me is actually best for everyone else. And if there's like resistance to that, then there's just going to be a lot of like pain and strife I'm sensing. And it's like also related to me how we're having this great resignation, and everyone, like so many people leaving a 9-to-5 job or a systems job in some regard, that it's like, oh no, wait, if I actually work for me, if I serve myself and I'm feeling really good, then that's going to really impact others. And I'm now being an entrepreneur, I'm really seeing like, wow, you can just create so much more is possible when I'm focused on myself. And then ultimately that's going to make me so much more expansive and reach out to so many more people, that it's just going to create something totally different than if I continued to stay on the trajectory I was on. I'm wondering if you're like feeling something similar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it like reflects back to like we're all feeling this collectively, right? Like for you, the choosing you program, it's like,
yeah,
how do you choose yourself? And that, right, even like the words we're using to describe programs we're creating, it's like, this is super important, and we're picking it up on it in the field, even if we didn't know that underlying shift of energy is happening, right? And I'm getting goosebumps all over my body. It's like, how are you actually equipped for this next paradigm? Because none of the same rules apply. So if you aren't looking outside of yourself for the rules to follow, and you're actually looking inward at your inner divinity, because we're all a reincarnation of God on this planet, and we're all one, right? Like if you believe those things, which a lot of people don't, but that's okay. But it's like choosing you is best for all.
Yeah.
Then it really just gets to become, what if, I had a dream like a couple months ago that, what if currency on our planet were actually given out or doled out based on our internal frequency and how we felt?
But is it not already? Could you not argue that?
Yeah, I could argue that it is, but there's so many people that are exchanging satisfaction for generators, success for projectors, surprise and delight for reflectors, and peace as manifestors, in order to fulfill this larger good for everyone agenda. And so they're sacrificing themselves, and they're getting a paycheck for that, which if you enjoy your job, like, I'm not saying entrepreneurship is for everyone, and if you enjoy your job, cool, and I'm not saying it's going away and all those caveats, but it's like that internal feeling, like it can't be faked or measured. And that's the benefit to everyone on the planet, is to like raise our consciousness and to be in those high vibrational states that ripple out into everyone. So anyways, so
yeah, no, 100%. And in the sense of like, as you're starting to choose you, and then you still maybe feel the like reverb of, oh, I'm being selfish, or I'm desiring too much, or I shouldn't take too much, or whatever. It's kind of like, don't forget to ask a question, because if we still have this like transition of another 4.5 years, you're saying, like, till this is probably like, you are also tapping into where a lot of the collective is still struggling with this unconsciously, right? And like, you're tuning into that frequency when you are tapping into the like guilt of, oh, I shouldn't choose this, which is like not, I was like just getting not self-theme. I'm probably maybe not using them, but like from the way I'm understanding it,
Yeah, and conditioning. And one of my favorite questions that you ask, and I think it's going to be really powerful over the next 4-ish years, is this mine?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
it mine? No. Okay. Like, can we move through or past it? And what I
Yeah.
think is really cool about this, just from like a business owner perspective, like just watching this and like being an entrepreneur, is like, this means that anything you're studying or learning that is telling you to choose outside of yourself or something that doesn't feel good is not sustainable because it won't work.
Mm-hmm. 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 Can you say that one more time? There was something that
I don't
like,
I don't even know what I said.
yeah, okay. You're saying like, okay, when you're
If you're
choosing
looking
outside of
outside of
yourself.
yourself, yeah, if you're so I work with a lot of people, and I am as well, and I know that you are as well, like studiers, right? Like,
Right.
let's get the PhD, the like certifications, like let's fill all of our books,
Yeah.
and like read it. But what if we're not actually meant to be studying the information that's already 3D? What if we're
Yeah.
actually studying the 5D? What if we're studying the internal? What if it hasn't been birthed yet, because we are the leaders of this new paradigm, and anything external to us that we're studying and the way to do it is actually outdated?
Yes. Oh my God. Speaking my language. Because I was like, okay, in the process of going back to like the simplification era, let's say that
Yes.
we're in right now, I was really feeling the pull to like cocoon. And so like kind of how you've said, like we love to like seek and study, and same, like, cause I love studying with a ton of different people and learning and, really just like consumption mode, that all of a sudden I'm like, stop. Like I'm almost like, I don't want more input. I'm like really creating like, a period of time, and I'm not saying forever because I just adore like working with other people, of just getting clear on what's coming in from the inside. So that is like super resonating with what you're saying. Is that something you're feeling too?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I've made, and this might not be correct for everyone, so follow your authority. If you haven't watched one of our old
Yeah.
videos about authority,
Yeah.
do that. But like, really in line with my authority is like, I am not taking any programs that don't lead me back to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me what you did. Don't let me follow your proven process of how to do
Yeah.
something, but rather help me tap into my process, because
Mm-hmm.
I have the answers. All of us have the answers within us. And so when we're constantly consuming and being told, no, you have to do it this way, and then we're choosing to follow that way because we've invested, and like, right, that's it's taking us out of the game. It's taking us out of ourselves, and we have all the answers.
It's so good because it's like there's no one that can show you how to do it, really, right? It's like everyone sells things like that, of course, I get, because it's like, look at how to do it. It's like, no, but there is no roadmap. It's basically like, the energy you be is a catalyst or an activation for someone else if they're willing to receive it, right? So it's like, it's kind of like this illusion of like, well, like you said, follow this method, which like to me on the surface, like, okay, it's simple. Let me just follow. Cause it's like, as a kid, I was always one to really lean into like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, like kind of vibe. And so now in entrepreneurship, where it's really like leaning on me and needing to strengthen that and choosing me, that's a totally different muscle to strengthen, and so I can get where sometimes I still get like attracted to that older paradigm of like, and then and I'm like, oh, okay, that didn't feel so good. Okay, I need to go back to like, right, because it's contracting on the body when it's not, in alignment with how your energy naturally functions.
Yeah, what I'm almost getting from that is like the illusion of ease. Like, following someone else's path is
Yeah.
the illusion of ease. It's
Yeah.
here's your steps, but it's like, yeah, but that's taking you away from your steps. So it's not actually easy. It's like actually really freaking painful to do it and then have to like course correct and then do it. And I mean, this is so conditioned, especially in entrepreneurship, right? It's like, you got to do the sequence of events. Like, I'm opening a new program next week, and like, it's taking everything in me. Like, the work for me is to not do that.
Yeah.
Is to stay away from that path and to be like, no, what do I desire? Like, having communications with my offering and being like, what do you want to be? And like, you do as well. Like, what is talking to your offers? What do you choose? Like, what are you? What do you want to be?
Yes.
What needs to be birthed through me?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, because as you were talking, I was seeing like, oh, it's as if I like walk into someone else's closet, who has a different style than me and maybe a different body shape. And it's like, I try on the clothes and it's like, this is not me. It's not me because it's like, A, it's not the style, it's not the fit or whatever, like too short, too long, whatever. And if I'm trying to force that, I'm going to feel really uncomfortable, right? And again, it's like not asking questions, kind of what you just mentioned about like pinging the offers and tuning into the energy of it, which would ultimately be the simplest path, like versus
it's just mind management at that point, right? It's just like
correct.
Managing the mind around the conditioning of what you think you have to do in order to make it easy. It's like, because we've been marketed to and taught that. And isn't that so funny? And like, I almost think like being behind the scenes of some people's offers that share around how they do things and being like, yeah, but you're not living that. And so it's like that energy speaks too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are you like pragmatically choosing right now to simplify your business?
Okay. Really, really specific here. So I used to do all human design types, like type, strategy, authority, how to build an offer, like all of these things, right? And then I'm like, have been invited a lot and am living the experience of being a projector. What does it look like to be a projector in business and have a successful business, not only monetarily, but feeling wise? Success, like redefining the definition of success, all of that stuff. So I have actually like simplified into, how do I work with projectors? Okay, here's how I work with projectors. This, teaching you the energy and the strategy, offer 1. 2, do you desire deeper support and do you want to do it in a group and do it in community? Offer 2. Do you want to do it in a tropical location over a weekend? Option 3. Oh, that's it.
Can I just be a projector for a weekend so I can get your energy and just...
And that's the thing. It's like, there was a lot of actually like trauma work that I had to and got to do around not leaving anyone out. Like I had this story that I was, I have to have something for everyone and I don't want to leave anyone out. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not operating at my highest frequency and capacity and capability if I'm doing it for everyone, because then I just get freaking overwhelmed. And I'm like, well, I got to create this for this and this. And every post is not on every type. And it's like, that's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, truly. Oh, well, okay. So then is that similar to, because I get that still like you function really different in business than like what people say, like pick your avatar and who's in your niche. And it's like, although on one hand you could say, projectors is your niche, but it's like you still, it's like you are the niche, right? And so it's like with your offers, are you seeing it as like someone that goes through kind of like the beginning of the journey and then a more advanced stage, so to speak? So it's like kind of really zeroing in on like one type of projector, or does that make sense?
Yeah, it's almost like the transformation for all of my offers is the same. It's how do you desire to do it? So if you desire this transformation of living your design, building your business by design, and really living as a projector and feeling that deep success, not only within your body, but in your business, you have 3 ways to do that. And how much support are you desiring? And in what capacity feels good for you? And it might not be any of them. And that's okay, because there's this whole essence and like whole other rabbit hole, maybe we can go down next time, but it's like of your fractal line, you're meant to work with who you're meant to work with, and you reincarnate here on earth with a soul tribe of people you're meant to work with. So if you're not in it, man, like don't buy it. Like, I'm fine with that, which is against like every other marketing rule ever. It's like, convince them, overcome objections. Well, no, it doesn't feel good.
It doesn't. And because like prove it energy is not helpful. And, because it's like, if someone has, like when someone comes in my DMs, they're like, oh, I, wish I had the finances to work with you, just not now, to be later. And it's like, okay, cool. Like when it works for you, it works for you. And if not, that's okay too. Because it's like, if I went into prove it energy, like, no, you need to do it now, or you need to make the leap now, or that's really what helps, or like just trying to like facilitate them into something that they've already decided. If they choose it and then they are not really ready to receive the information, ultimately it gets projected back to you in the form of being stabbed in the back, right? Because you pushed past what they've already told you they're willing to receive. And so energetically, I'm always looking at like, I'm kind of in that frequency. I've gotten to that place now after doing like therapy for so long. And I mean, like offering therapy for so long. It's like, okay, what can they receive? What can they receive? What can they hear? What can they hear? Right? Because it's like, when you're at that place, then you're going to know how much to deliver, because I get that part of this whole thing with the simplicity, like we've been conditioned to like over deliver. My God, that's another thing in business, right? Over deliver, like under promise, over deliver. I mean, they told us that in NLP training. And so then I was always going into like shame when I wasn't doing that, but I was like, but I'm aware that they can only, you know, receive so much. And it's like, if you try to give them all your information in one like session, that's like going to a buffet and trying to eat all your meals for the whole day in one day. And it's just too much.
And what was the intention behind it? Was it to prove yourself that you're a worthy investment, or was it because you actually wanted to help and support them? Because it likely was prove it.
Yeah. And then people feel it, and that just doesn't feel good in general.
Okay. I want to ask, what are you simplifying? What's your essence, the desire to simplify? How are you feeling it?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I was, the past couple months, then I was looking at similar things of like taking folks through kind of this transformational journey, like kind of where the, like, just having the product suite rather than it being like this scatter initially. So I have it where, you know, there's a membership, and that's kind of like where we're working on just the awareness of like trauma healing, the energetics behind trauma, all of that. And then the Choosing You program, which is just more in depth of like step by step. This is like generally through the healing process, the tools to use. And then now EFC, Energy Flows for CEOs, really folks that have like done that foundational healing work and understand the energetics. Now we're on like rocket ship, like taking those energy concepts to the business area, right? Because it's just, if you're struggling with your mental health, it's like very difficult to be an entrepreneur, I would get, because it's like, it challenges me, everybody at some capacity, right? That it's like having a mental fortitude, like a pretty resilient mental health is just so important. Not saying it can't be done, but it's like, it does require some foundational things before getting there. So it's like, that's what I've created. However, as we're moving out of this like muddy period and into clarity, I'm feeling called to just like create some classes now, just right where I'm at, which although it's like, it still feels like simple in the sense of like the clarity is coming. So the simplification of like knowing what to choose feels good versus it like having to look really simple on the outside.
Yeah. I'm picking up.
Are you following?
I'm picking up the energy of that. And also just like knowing your profile lines are a 1-3. It's like study, experiment.
Yeah,
but like,
yes. Forever.
But your study is no longer external, it's internal, which is like such a cool shift.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. And I think that's part of the simplification for me, is to just like limit my consumption. The last year and a half or 2 years was huge consumption mode for me. And so now I'm like really dialing it back to just like a few select things to just kind of, because I just still enjoy it. But again, like you said, having containers where it's like wholly returned back to you, because if not, then I'm just, you know, I've just gotten a lot of clarity lately that is not for me. It's not for me. I'm like, you see these shiny objects, it's like, oh, but they make it look so easy, so let me like do it, you know?
Well, and then your authority goes, but your mind goes, but I need that.
Yeah. The ego is so much louder sometimes.
I know. It's wild. It's so funny. Like I talk about, because for people who are like really like, okay, no, but I need the like specifics, right? Like I talk about how much money my authority saves me. Like the amount of programs I would take if I didn't follow my authority is absurd. Like I think last quarter alone, I saved like $10,000 following my authority. Like you don't need that. You don't need that. I know it looks pretty. I know it looks fun. I know that's great, but it's not for you. It's like, oh, are you sure?
Yeah, I love that. That's great the way you put it. What about like in personal life and like not business? Is simplifying also an energy for you lately?
Decluttering, which I'm not great at. I have like ADHD, self-diagnosed, but like I don't finish things. So my husband and I have been having conversations. Okay, if I start this, can you finish it? Like, if I start the laundry, can you move it into the dryer? Like, because I will forget to do that, right? And so that's been in our household. And lately, I've just been noticing myself when I'm decluttering, I'm moving piles around the house. Like, I'll move one pile from one room to the other room. So this room looks really decluttered. So, like, what about you? I mean, I know you're moving, so like obviously.
Yeah. Well, first I was thinking about like my husband makes fun of me because I have like a drawer that is just like, it's usually like filled to the brim. It's like the one drawer that like, that's where I hide the things, you know, and everything else looks like nice on the outside, you know, like how is that a representation for life? But yes,
it's like Monica's closet on Friends.
Oh,
like
exactly.
the one closet that no one is allowed to go in.
Yeah, well, with the move, and I've also perceived this like scattering of energy for myself for a while now, because it's like a move was on the horizon for some time. Like the energy of it started in fall, although like nothing was really had materialized. That almost my body felt like my body was already moving ahead, and I was just like, but wait, I'm still here, like in Austin, so I don't, you know. So it was this like weird splitting. So I'm starting to feel more grounded in the sense that it's like, oh, okay, like a location is decided. We still don't have like an exact move date, but closing Thursday. So it's starting to feel, and just excited to be, I like, this is a whole other, I'm getting this as part of the simplification too, is that like forever, I've always loved living in large, busy cities and having tons to do and go out and restaurants and blah, blah. And now I'm just like, I want quiet, like in space and ease and just, and so this is, Frisco is like farmland. I mean, the lot is building up there, but it's like North Dallas. So it's like outside, definitely, you know, away from the city, 30 minutes from the city, and just space and having a yard. And I just get that that's going to be so grounding. So to me, that feels like a simplification of input of just what I'm aware of in the close proximity. Because right now I'm in an apartment building and still pretty close to Austin. So it's busy.
Yeah. I'm curious what your human design environment is.
Oh my God. How do I find that out?
It's in your genetic matrix. If you don't have genetic matrix, it's like your extended profile. So it's behind the arrows. Okay. We can look at like, so your environment is like what environment your body does best in. And if you're an observer, or if you like to be observed, and then like if you're activated by your environment, or if you're calmed by your environment, and that like, it's so fun to look at. So like, for example, I'm a valleys environment, which doesn't necessarily mean like I need to live in a valley. It's not literal like that, but there's like a lot of stuff about acoustics within a valley, like away from noise and really sensitive to noise, and being like plugged into someone else, like another, but closely, but not with a whole bunch of people, which would be more like a market kitchen or something like that. So anyways, there's different environments, which are really fun to look at. So rabbit hole.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on that, because that'd be really fascinating for people to have a better understanding about that. And like, I would guess it with the like you living near the beach, because I'm like, oh, acoustic waves, like how is that kind of almost like you know, drowning out, like it kind of cleanses the space being so close to the ocean.
Yeah, definitely does. And I've lived all over. It's so fascinating to like look at that, like what environment are you in from a human design perspective. And then I've also played with, I don't know if you've done this, but played with astrocartography. Getting like, oh my gosh, like living places and being like, this was not the place for me. And like, oh yeah, it's because like my Mars line goes right through it and it was very tumultuous or whatever. And so you're able to look at like, what are these different energies and frequencies that I'm, again, picking up on? And then there's just an external source that's like, yep, you were correct.
Confirmation.
Like, what if you didn't need the confirmation and you just trusted yourself?
Yeah, the astrocartography, I can never say that right.
Cartography,
yeah. So the line for Texas, for me, it was like very much a like, almost like a closing and new chapter energy, which was really interesting because I started my business once I came here. So it was like closing of the 9 to 5, starting that. And the house energy like boils down to a 9 number, which is like the same thing. And so I was just like, that we're moving into. So I'm like, oh my God. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to kind of
so your new place is a 9.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I know, right? And I didn't think about that till after, of course, like, you know.
Yeah. We're not making mental decisions.
No, but it's still like just following the energy. So I'm so excited to, you know, see where that goes. But oh my gosh, I adore talking to you.
Same. It's fun to look at. It's like, okay, what are you aware of? What's in your field? What are you picking up on? What if you trusted it and knew it was right? If you got some external validation, cool. You know?
I know. Well, it's just like, it doesn't fucking hurt right now, you know, especially where it's just like to help, you know, start to trust yourself and lean into that more and understand like, oh, that energy was so subtle that I was perceiving. And then here's some like external kind of confirmation or whatever, just to help support you in that journey of leaning into you and choosing you.
Yeah. And I remember we had a conversation at one point. We were talking about my husband and I moving to Oakland. And I was like, absolutely not doing it, not moving there. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, that is not for me. Like, I don't know. And you asked, like, what are you perceiving that like you're not allowing yourself to acknowledge? I'm like, oh yeah. No, now I'm definitely not going. Right?
You're like, oh no. Yeah.
Because I was trying to talk myself into it, right? Oh, it would be good for this, or we can talk ourselves into anything we want. But why would we if it's not correct for us?
Yeah.
So fun.
Mic drop. So what are you inviting to people these days? What's going on?
Well, my beautiful projector humans got those 3 beautiful offers to share on my gram. If you want to come
jump
play,
in.
Jump on in. If it's correct for you, if I feel like your person, and if I don't, fabulous. I can help direct you to your person. And that's great. What about you?
Oh my gosh. Well, today, if folks are watching it today, I have like this quick 24-hour flash thing because I was just really getting like, when I was reviewing how it's like, wow, my life has changed so much where I can like schedule 2 to 3 things in a day versus having to work 12 hours, anyways, it's a long story why I created it that way. But, in the sense of all these things of why I left the 9 to 5. And so it did really facilitate me and working with someone who had already done it and having that coaching experience. So, and I get always, it's not financially available. So I have my session packs available today to the public, 3, 6, and 9. If you want to join, these are usually only available to people who've already worked with me. So it's a 24-hour thing because it's like, you'll know if it's right for you. And if not, that's cool too.
I love it. So fun.
All right, my dear.
But our fun new Tuesday day.
Tuesday,
Next
Thursday.
time we'll see where it is.
Yeah, exactly. We just keep following the energy and see what works. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.